All right, welcome back, True Seeker. It is Wednesday, August 28th, 2024. And in yesterday's live stream, we had a woman call in at the end, and she expressed that she'd really like to talk about family. So I said, sounds like a great topic, probably one that a lot of people can stay on topic about, share information, their own struggles, their own advice. I'll try to do that with my own life here. Of course, I've talked about my family a lot. So if you've been around, you might have heard it all already. But while I'm putting it out there, feel free to call in. Again, the line is up on the screen. It's a call board, so it's first come, first serve. If you're the first to call in, you'll be first in line, and that's the way I go through it, right in order. I want to put something out there. I just stopped by the P.O. box. Normally, I go by on Friday. Some kind of mix-up happened at my P.O. box. If you're in Georgia and you sent me a package at the beginning of the month, it got shipped back to you. They put your package slip in the wrong box, and so anyway, I don't know how to resolve the problem. The package got shipped back to you. Thank you very much for sending me the package. I don't know what was in there, but the Georgia person who sent me a package that would have arrived earlier this month, it was sitting in the wrong box. They figured it out, but they already shipped it back. So I just got to get that out there for the Georgia person. I want to make sure that if you sent me that package, you got it back. So sorry that happened, but thank you anyway. It was the thought that count. If it's you, Miss Mildred, that'd be something else if I missed your package. I miss Miss Mildred. She was my family on here. That murder by numbers poster in the background, Miss Mildred sent that to me years ago. But I don't know if it was Miss Mildred or somebody else. She's the one person I know that's ever sent me anything from Georgia. But I don't know. The post office just isn't what it used to be. Since I moved to this small town, I've had so many issues with the post office. So at least they told me they made the mistake. But all right, that out of the way. Family. Again, family can be the best thing in the world, and sometimes it can be the worst thing. And again, all of my favorite memories from childhood were Thanksgiving and Christmas because we'd always have our biggest family gatherings. Sometimes my family that lived in North Dakota would come out. One of my mom's sisters, she loved to host the Thanksgiving and Christmas. We'd go over there every year. I get to see my cousins, play games, have my uncles make fun of me, my older cousins bully me, but I liked it all. I just appreciated it all. It was just so good to be around family. And and then one year, my mom and her other sister, she had a lot of sisters in her family, 9 children in that family. They got into a fist fight, and they ended up knocking over the couch into it was a disaster. And we weren't invited to Thanksgiving anymore, and we weren't invited to Christmas anymore. And so, like, I don't have any more memories after that of visiting with the family. And it was over something so silly. I heard how the altercation started. Grandma was in town, their mom, my grandma, and first my mom would ask grandma to come watch my sports game. I think it was basketball at the time, to come to my basketball game, and grandma said she would go. And then the other sister asked for grandma to go to my cousin's game, and then grandma said she's going to go to that game. But then the problem was the games were at the same time, and somehow, some way, she had decided to go to the other aunt's game instead of mine, which I didn't care about. I could care less if grandma was there, to be perfectly honest. But that led to the altercations between sisters. And if you ever talk to my mom, she'll always tell you she was the Cinderella of her family. She was the odd one out while everybody else got to go out and have fun. She had to clean the house and do the dishes. And again, I wasn't alive back then. It very well might have been that way. She was the third of 9 children, my mom. 2 older sisters. The fourth born was a girl. Out of her whole family, the fourth born, for whatever reason, is the most normal person out of the whole family. My mom, she's out there. She's going to be like, but she got the jab. Okay, I didn't say she was the smartest person, but just like in terms of a normal person from your family, easily the most normal. Finally, a boy. I find it funny that the first boy who was born in her family's gay. I'm like, man, 4 girls, and then the first boy that was born is gay. but he actually had two. He was married for a short time and had two children, and they're both boys. And then turned out he wasn't really into women. But then the rest of the younger ones, there's six girls and three boys in that family. Yeah, that's right. Six girls and three boys. But anyway, their family. There's just so much friction in their family, like so many families. And my theory on their family is it was just too many children and not enough attention from the parents. And anyway, it's sad that there's just so much friction in families in America. And I don't think it used to be this way. I think it's more, well, then again, you read the Bible and you're like, well, wait a minute, Cain and Abel, it's got pretty bad. One killed the other one. So maybe it's always been there. But some families are just so much more peaceful and harmonious than others. And I learned this as a young person. And the household I grew up in, I was lucky to have both parents until I went off to college, and then they split up as soon as I was out of the house. And it was obvious that my dad wanted to stay in the house because he never had a father, so he was trying to be the male presence in the house for as long as I was there. But as soon as I was out of the house, so was he. And again, my dad grew up in a house. His dad is. He has brothers. Everyone has a different father, and parts of his life, his mom didn't even want to take care of the kids, so she sent him off to live with her parents. Again, so like a lot of people, I come from I guess a history of sort of broken homes. And my father's home probably a lot more broken than my mother's home, but again, both with their own issues. And naturally, my parents had a lot of issues growing up. It's funny when you're a child, you only really know what goes on in your household until maybe you learn about another friend's household, which eventually happened for me. But my household, I just thought it was normal for parents to be yelling and screaming and throwing things and being mad every night. And that's just what life was. And obviously, as a human, you don't really enjoy that, but it becomes normal, and it's sustainable, I guess, in a way. But around age 8 or 9, I met a friend, and I was just so blown away by his household. I just never seen a household like it. His parents were just always so happy and having such a good time and laughing, and I mean, I don't know if they ever fought. I never witnessed them fight once. But what I realized is, man, they like having me over. They're always having dinner. So for a lot of my life, I just started hanging out when school was over. Instead of going home to my house, I just started going over to their house. And I spent a lot of my childhood in that family's house. And I always try to look them up. I cannot find them. I'd like to see them again. I haven't seen them for a long time, but feel like I owe them a big thank you and several dinners. But again, if you are in a place where like your family is too disruptive, again, you got to figure out a way to remedy the problem the best you can. And sometimes it's just you have to keep your distance. They are your family. You still love them and care about them, but it's like, ugh. So that's what I eventually figured out as a child. Just I can stay at this friend's house. They like having me over. Now, I got to tell you something weird that happened though along the way that I always felt bad about. And this family, they were a very Christian family, and it was a brother and a sister in the household, and they listened to like the only thing that family listened to in terms of music was Christian music. And I cannot remember like the name of the 90s Christian children groups, but these were like the things that the brother and sister were listening to. They were 2 years apart, the brother and sister. But anyway, I had an older sister, and like I told you, we were the only white kids in the neighborhood that we initially grew up in. This friend was when we moved. So lived in a different neighborhood when we moved when I met this family. But, I introduced this friend to different music, and he really liked different music. But then his mom found out, and then she scolded him, and she was like so angry with him. And I remember in the moment when she found out he was listening to this different stuff, like she didn't realize that I was the influence. But I ended up telling her, like, apologizing. I said, really the reason David's listening to that is because I introduced him to it, and she wasn't too happy about that. And but yeah, that's like maybe the only time I really saw friction in that household. And then I look back now as a child, I'm like, I understand why she was mad about that. She's trying to keep everything just like above board, nothing but positive messages and energy. She doesn't want any kind of like she didn't want anything that's even halfway wicked in there. And to me, that was just normal too, because that's again, my dad listened to a certain group of music, my mom listened to a certain group of music, and then my sister, who was 13 years older than me, she listened to a different group of music. So I had all this different music. But of course, I liked everything my parents would listen to. So, or my parents, my sister. But of course, when you're younger, you also kind of want to be more like your sibling. So I probably just listened more of what she was listening to than anything. Anyway, families. You cannot choose your family. You're born into a family. It's a luck of the draw type of thing. And, sometimes it can be a great challenge, the family you have. But, but even if you're not happy with your family circumstance, like you've heard me complain a million times about certain things about my family, but I always end up saying the same thing, and I mean it every time I say it. I wouldn't want it any other way. I'm happy with the way I turned out. And I feel like had I grown up in any different circumstance, I wouldn't be who I am. So I'm happy with who I turned out to be. And, tougher upbringing at times is part of what made my character and made me have, the goals that I did have. And something I always thought about as a young child is, how can I make it so households don't have to be like mine, where the parents are so upset and angry? And as a child, I was always a very thinking person. I was trying to understand when I was younger, like, why my parents were so mad all the time. And as you get older, you start to understand that, okay, I see. We're a poorer family. My parents work very hard. They grind. They don't get a lot for it. They feel underappreciated, underrewarded. It's one headache after the next to keep up with. And then again, those types of things make you also work harder when you're younger, so that you're like, okay, well, I don't want to end up in this circumstance as well. I don't want to have the same problems my parents are having. What can I do different in my life so I don't end up how they are? And even though my sister, even tougher circumstance, because she didn't have a father. She was raised by my mom as a single mother. We don't have the same dad. My sister and I have different fathers. Again, my mom got pregnant when she was very young and had my sister at a young age, and then she had me when she was 30 years old. And anyhow, my sister, she was one of the first people in the whole family to graduate from college, and she went to nursing school. And I still remember, I was in middle school. I was in middle school when she got out of college. Yeah, I think I was a seventh grader. I think I was in seventh grade when my sister finished college. And I remember that year I had an assignment where I had to shadow somebody at work. So I chose to shadow my sister, uh, you know, uh, as a young nurse in her profession, and she worked in a neonatal unit. Neonatal units where they work with babies in Portland, Oregon, where she was. It was a pretty big unit, a lot of premature babies in there. And I just remember it was something else to see, just the tiny little itty bitty babies on the incubators. But what I remember about that night is, so at this time in my life, my sister was dating the same man that she'd been dating since I was a little kid. He was like my big brother. And funny enough, he was great at basketball, and his name was LeBron, not LeBron. This is before LeBron, but it was LeBron. And so that's why I find that ironic that just like the biggest basketball name right now, and for a long time now, is LeBron. I'm like, it's just so close to LeBron, the guy that I grew up with is my big brother. But anyway, I remember that night because my sister, and LaRon, they've been together for a long time. They weren't married. They've been living together for a long time too. They've been together since I was a little. I was probably, I don't know. I was probably like, I don't know. They've probably been together since at least I was 5 years old. So now I'm a teenager. And anyway, I remember that night shadowing my sister. There was this doctor, and he kept just bringing me candy all night long. Kept bringing me candy, candy, candy. And I never even ate candy like that at any age, not even on Halloween. When I'd get my Halloween candy, I'd go through it very slowly. Might eat one piece a day. I guess I've always been good about diet, but he was just like overloading me with candy that night. And I said to my sister that night, I said, I think the reason he's bringing me so much candy is because he likes you. And my sister's like, really? Well, lo and behold, next thing I know, my sister is out of a relationship that she's been in forever, and she's dating this doctor. So, anyhow, not long after that, they're getting married. Not long after that, she's having her first child. And she got lucky with her first baby because he was like the angel baby, never cried. And as far as I understand, he slept through the night. She never had it as easy with any of her next three children. But, I thought they had the picture perfect family. Not only was he a doctor, but he came from a very wealthy family. So he was already mega wealthy. Plus, he has the doctor's salary. And, they're living, she's living the American dream now. But in more recent years, it was the weirdest thing. The day that Sweet Lady and I got engaged was the day I found out my sister was getting divorced. I was like, what are the odds of these things? Her birthday is December 7th and mine is July 21st. So 127721. It's like perfect reflections. And that was a weird thing that happened in our life. My mom called to tell me they were getting divorced on the day we got engaged. I was like, what in the world? But when I first heard the news, I was like surprised, but then I thought about it. It was either the Christmas before I heard the news, or maybe it was two Christmases before. He had bought the family a pinball machine, and it was like hiding out in the garage, and he wanted to bring it into their family room that morning as a surprise. And him and I were out in the garage, like getting the pinball machine and lifting and carrying it. And he started just like venting about how sick he was of my sister and how mean she is. And I was like, uh-oh, like, this isn't good. But shortly after that, my sister found out she had breast cancer. And then she sadly had to get the surgery. And then it wasn't long after that I found out they were getting divorced. So I felt bad that my sister, went through all these things in a row. But just divorce, it's such a common thing, right? It's just, I was actually just looking up the stats before I went on here. They said the current stat, the average divorce rate for a marriage right now is a little more than 43% in America, if the stat's true. So it's not quite half, but it's close. And they were going through their divorce when I was moving to Yakima for Sweet Lady to go to school. And my brother-in-law, he called me up, the doctor, and he just wanted to explain things to me. And I thought he was really honest about what he said. In a way, though, I was kind of disappointed to hear what he was saying. He said it was two things. He said, it's just, he said, your sister has just been mean, she's been mean. And, sorry if you're out there, Mom, but we both love you, but you're not the nicest person. And I can be mean too, but again, you learn from your parents. And so that was one of the things he said. And then the other thing he said was the disappointing thing. He said, honestly, I just feel too old and too burnout, and we have too many kids. And he was saying, like, had they had less kids, that he could probably hold it together. And I was saying to him then, I was like, Craig, I had to remind him. I said, I remember when you guys first got married. What's funny is Craig comes from a family of 9 kids, just like my mom comes from a family of 9 kids. And when my sister and Craig first had their first child, they said they were going to have 9 kids. And we'll see about that. They ended up having 4 kids. And to their credit, all their kids are doing pretty well. But um, when they got divorced, the middle 2 children, man, woo! I could have never predicted it. They really acted out a ton. And the second oldest, a boy, I mean, he went on a tirade. He took spray paint to their whole house. He wrote my sister's name as a bitch all over the house in spray paint. And he took a baseball bat to certain objects in the house. And just another stereotype that happens in families. Sometimes middle children don't get the same treatment that the firstborn gets, that the baby of the family gets. And the second born, my sister would get mad when I was younger, but I'd tell her, I don't think you're being very fair to him, because big brother was allowed to bully the younger brother. Big brother would get things, and then younger brother would be told no. And I'd be like, I don't know where she's learning these parenting. I'll tell honestly, actually, my sister was always reading anything Oprah Winfrey recommended for parenting is what my sister would read. And I'd say to her back then, I'd say, Jen, Oprah doesn't even have kids. So what does she really know about parenting? It's crazy. My sister, she only listens to Oprah and Martha Stewart, but seriously, Oprah doesn't have any kids. So I was like, I don't know why Oprah's your go-to for all information. And I don't know if it was some book that Oprah recommended that had her doing these parenting strategies, but I was just looking sideways at it. I was like, why would you say yes to him that he can have that and no to him at the same? I mean, what? Like, in what world? And seriously, big brother was like allowed to shove little brother down the stairs. And if little brother cried, she'd be like, okay, stop with that right now. You're fine. I'd be like, what? So the divorce, and I think that just brought out this. But the good news is, he got past that and he's doing well in life, and him and mom are doing well. So again, if you're some young person listening to this and you're in that kind of thing and you're going through some nightmare right now, I'm also trying to tell you there's light at the end of the tunnel, and you can overcome all that, because right now they have a good relationship. It's years later now, so that's nice to see that they've made amends and things are good. But for a minute there, I was like, this is not looking good. This is getting bad, getting dangerous. And then the middle, again, my sister has 3 boys and a girl, and the girl was the third born. And, she went through a thing recently where she wanted to identify as like one of her brothers. And she's been having some serious acting out. And her and grandma are not getting along these days. And I'm always hearing grandma's side of the story. And I know when grandma tells the story, which is my mom, it's not always the most accurate truth of the story. My mom's version can be highly different from what actually happened. But anyhow, teenage years for a lot of families, tough years. It's par for the course in a lot of families. Teenagers are rebellious. They want to act out. They want to piss off the parents. They want to show that they exist in the world and they're their own person. And, so someday I'll have a teenager of my own, and we'll see how it goes in this household. But anyway, family. It can be so complicated. It can be so beautiful. It can fall apart. It can become disastrous. I think really for every household, I think it's the common story of why so many households fall apart is it can be from outside stresses, but one thing that really destroys a lot of families is cheating. And that was something too that we didn't realize was going on in my sister's family. But my sister had just kept it under wraps for many years that her husband was cheating. And, my sister's husband's a rich, wealthy, pretty handsome guy. Grew up in a frat house. You know how it can be in those frat houses. You can get used to having at least a woman a weekend, if not a lot better than that, especially in your college days. And again, when you have that kind of behavior, you can develop an appetite, if you will. And, I got to see a side of my sister's husband that she never got to see, because sometimes he would ask me to come golfing with him and his frat buddies. They all stayed friends. Several of his frat buddies became medical doctors. They stayed as a tight knit group, and he was so much different around his frat buddies and the things they'd talk about than when he'd be around my sister. And of course, I'm sure it's like that for a lot of guys, locker room talk and all this. But yeah. So again, when you pick your partner, sometimes it's hard to know their history and what they're all about. But I'd caution any woman, if your dude's been in a fraternity, that could end up being a problem. Stereotypes are real. But anyway, I was gonna say, I mean, cheating is ultimately what destroys so many relationships. And again, I mean, sexual temptation is a really hard thing to resist. And again, if you're a handsome and successful man in this world, you're going to be tempted with a lot of temptation. So again, it's like in a lot of spirituality, you learn about temptations of the flesh and then doing what's right spiritually. And I mean, obviously, what's doing right spiritually, especially when you have a family, is resisting the temptation and making sure you're doing what keeps your family together. And I don't know my mom and my dad's full story either. My dad started dating my mom when she was a single mom, and sometimes my mom will bring up that my dad was out running around doing this and that. It might very well be true, and that might also be part of the underpinning of why they were so angry and fighting for my whole childhood. But yeah, I'd say like so many people obviously get married and they say their vows, but they really don't mean it. And I mean, that's just, yeah, it's hard to stay faithful. I mean, the world is full of temptation, but it's like, it's so important. Like, if you really, if you decide to marry somebody, you should really be about what those, those words that come out on marriage day. Unless you get, and some people get married and they have an understanding, like, that once a year you're allowed to do this. I think I saw an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm years ago where there was like an agreement that, like, okay, once a year I got to go have fun with a stripper or a hooker or whatever. And I don't know if that's exactly right for your relationship either, but hey, if those are the agreeable terms, and that's what's going to keep the whole thing steady, at least it's understood. But the point is, if you say that you're going to be about something, you really got to be about it. I mean, that again, when you're not, when you break the trust, the whole thing just starts to erode. And yeah, like Sweet Lady, Sweet Lady was straight up with me when we started dating. We weren't even married. She says, "Listen, if you ever cheat on me, make sure I never find out, because I will kill you." So I said, "Okay, I got it. I got it." And that's what I love about Sweet Lady. She's just so direct. And we've been together for a long time. There's been a few things that have come up along the way where I've just had to be really on my P's and Q's. And it's because I respect Sweet Lady and I like our relationship. And I always want to keep this relationship. And I know she's a diamond in the rough. So, good partners are hard to find. And if you do find one, you should, if you cherish it and you want to keep it, you better not do anything to break the trust. So yeah, anyhow, Sweet Lady and I, funny enough, we've been together for 11 years and change now. We got our baby coming due in the 11th month. You know what's funny? Sweet Lady likes the idea of a middle name as 11. I still don't know how I feel about it. I think it's funny. I was like, and that is the character name in Stranger Things too. So I think a part of her, she saw that show recently. I think part of that's also in her mind, that little badass girl from Stranger Things. But anyway, we got a family coming, and like I said, like the things you do out. Like I said 9 months ago, well, it hasn't been quite 9 months yet, but we're getting close. We're 2 months away. It's been 7 months. I said, Someday the little one will be here and then she'll grow up. And someday people might show her things online that dad said and did in the past that weren't so right. And I said back then, that's why I got to start straightening up and being a better person too. I don't really feel like I've ever been a horrible person, but there's regrettable things that I've done. And, so I'm sure someday, somehow, some way, my daughter will see things from my own past. I mean, I have trolls and haters out there that love to put my worst of my worst moments together in compilation videos. Um, she might see a video like that, and then I have to explain to her, yeah, dad's been bad too. So right here, what we're seeing is regrettable actions from dad. So take note, and there's a reason dad doesn't act that way anymore. So anyhow, it just family. Part of the reason. Here's the other thing to say about family in light of the larger thing that we talk about on this channel. I focus on how corrupt our government is, how it exploits us, how it lies to us, how it manipulates us. Again, we know our government has also purposefully done things to destroy households, especially in darker complected communities, and how government makes laws that even create incentives for families to not exist, so that the state can fill in for the father and the state can be removed, or the father can be removed. Again, had people not succumbed to the ill intentions of government, the temptations, had drugs being funneled in, all the things that have done, we would see a healthier society. We'd see less broken homes. So again, in this world where there's so many obstacles for everybody and every family, it's why. How do you even put it? Again, it's why more and more people need to recognize that the only way that things are going to improve and quality of life will improve and intact families will ever come back. And like right now, we have a ratio that is nearly 50% of all marriages end in divorce. The only way those things are going to improve is if there's a conscious effort for people to improve themselves on an individual level, and then if you're doing that, you're automatically also helping out your family. So I'm going to continue to try and model being a better human being than I've been at times in the past. And like I said, just watching Sweet Lady, go through the pregnancy process. For a while, she was dealing with the morning sickness thing. Right now, she's dealing with being a teeny tiny person, and it looks like the genetics from my mom's side of the family have passed on to our baby. My mom's side of the family tends to have big babies. I was nearly 10 pounds when I was born. I forget exactly what, I think I was 9 pounds, 12 ounces or something like that. So 4 ounces shy of 10 pounds. But Sweet Lady, they did the percentile. And I think I forget. It was close to the 90th percentile was the size of the baby. So out of 100 babies, only 10 would be bigger. And again, Sweet Lady, in terms of human size percentile, is very small. She might just barely be 5 feet tall. Pretty much everything she orders is an extra, extra small. So yeah, again, she just when the baby, moves, she's got this big bulge here. And she's like, "Oh, it feels so tight, Hubbard." So we tap on the baby and it usually goes down. We just tap right there on the spot and it normally goes down, but then it wants to come back to that spot. Anyway, what I was saying is just watching, Sweet Lady have to go through the process of being pregnant and the morning sickness and the discomfort and the sore feet and the swollen feet and the swollen legs. And, you just, it's like, sometimes your mom does drive you nuts, but you realize it's okay, that's why you always got to be good to your mom, because she had to go through a lot to bring you into the world. And that's why it's been good for me. In a way, I almost wish I would have got a girl pregnant 20 years ago. Easily could have been that way, because it probably would have had me realizing that I need to be better to my mom, even though she truly does drive me insane. A lot longer ago, witnessing the pregnancy process is like, okay, this is why you got to be good to your mom. It's not easy to bring a child into the world. And then I haven't even gotten to the point about I haven't even had to watch it with my own eyes, but just the whole labor process. Um, couple across the street, young couple. She was telling me that they had to medically induce her because she was pregnant for 10 months. 42 at the 42-week mark, they said, okay, we got to medically induce you to get the baby out because that thing doesn't want to come out. And then she was explaining that her time in labor was over 48 hours, so over 2 full days. Sometime into the start of the third day, the baby finally came out of there, and she said, I don't want to be crude, but they had to get real physical and said, just go in there and rip it out. I was like, oh man, it doesn't sound good. So anyway, family. For young people in the community who don't get along with their family, sometimes you just got to give it space. And if I could go back and change my past, I've just gotten in so many arguments with my mom. 'Cause she really does. She drives me insane, and then so often I'll be trying to keep my cool, trying to keep my patience, and then like I'll just explode because I can't take it anymore. I wish I could go back and take back all the times that ever happened. And it'd be a lot of times. Be having to do a lot of rewinds and deletions. It would be a long. It would be a lot. But again, I've been doing well for pretty much this whole pregnancy with just being patient with mom. Like okay, okay, and then when I just can't take anymore, I'm like, Mom, I gotta go. And I realize if I just say that instead of getting all angry, she's like, okay, and then she wants to talk for 5 more minutes, but then we get off the phone. So yeah, again, I'd encourage anyone who's having trouble with their family to try and be patient and not fight back because it doesn't feel good, right? It doesn't feel good when you fight with your family. You get stressed. I know how it is. You get stressed out and then you get angry and you lose your cool and then you start yelling and screaming too and cussing and saying all this stuff and then you feel even worse. But yeah, patience and also just like sometimes you just got to avoid the situation because you just know how it's going to go. Like I know anytime I pick up the phone for my mom right now, I'm going to be hearing about instead of I guess the one thing is there she's not as focused on negative stories like she likes to fixate on right now, but it's just RFK Jr. nonstop. So if I pick up the phone, I'm going to be hearing about RFK Jr. nonstop. Okay, so be it. It's better than the negativity. And the thing is too, I know my mom is lonely. She's alone, and I don't like that. And I've actually been encouraging her to move out more by me so I can help her out with all the stuff she always needs help out with too, like mowing her lawn and stuff. But she's stubborn. Tell her it's better out on this side of the state because it's sunny. She makes excuses for why she can't go on a walk because it's cold and rainy. Move out over here. It's sunny almost every day. But yeah, I would just encourage anyone, just try not to fight with your family. And if you just have to distance yourself or ignore, that's probably better. So, if you're younger than me, take it from me because I regret all the gazillion fights I've gotten with my own mom. And you don't hear me talking about my dad much. Him and I got into some fights when I was younger, but not very much. And we've gotten along. I mean, I know when I pick up the phone for my dad, he's going to be talking about the Yankees. Yankees, Yankees, Yankees. I mean, not always what I want to talk about, but that's what he likes to talk about. And here, just one other thing. I know this is a common thing in households. Parents trying to play the other parent. Like, it's funny. Even though my mom and my dad never got along, and when my dad fought with my mom, he'd say mean things to her. But when he would talk to me, he'd never really say anything bad about my mom. And he'd usually say something like, your mom's doing her best. My mom to this day, she's always trying to throw my dad under the bus. Always, 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 always. And I know that's not uncommon. A lot of moms like to do that to the man. Like, teach the kid that their dad is bad. And, if it's true that my dad was cheating on my mom, I could understand why she's mad. I never saw anything like that going on in the time I was around. Sometimes my mom brings up stuff like that. It might very well have happened. I don't know. But again, I just don't think that any parent should be doing that. Maybe dad is bad, but instead of saying dad is bad, maybe say like something good about the dad, and then, but all people have flaws, and this one thing your dad does, if when you grow up, don't do that. Probably just like a better way to phrase it. So I know Sweet Lady and I aren't going to have these problems. Again, for people trying to find the right partner, it is so important to find somebody that's on the same page. And it was easy for me to see that Sweet Lady and I were on the same page because she's the most direct person there ever was. A lot of women are very indirect. That's why I was just instantly attracted to Sweet Lady, because she was just so direct. I just realized, like, I'm never going to have a problem with this person because I always know what she thinks. It might be hard to take sometimes in the moment because she's going to call you out so hard. That might not feel good in the moment because you're just getting so roughed up with her words. That's happened sometimes. But in a way, I appreciate that because I know exactly what she's thinking. And usually when Sweet Lady's mad about something, she's usually right. Usually. So anyway. Let's take some phone calls. And by the way, I might get a phone call here pretty soon from my neighbor. I got a new neighbor who likes to ride bikes, and I like what he's doing. He's riding 10 miles as often as he can, and I don't get enough exercise too because I end up sitting too much in this chair riding all the time and doing what I do. But when he calls, if he does call, I'm going to have to break up the stream to go on the bike ride with him because I need to move this body. That's another thing you also got to do. Be good to your family and be good to your body, and then you'll be good to yourself. All right. We got two people on hold to start it off. Let's go out to 720 to lead us off. What's up, 720? 720? Hello? They might have been on hold for a minute, so they don't know they're back on. 720. 720. All right, I'm going to come back to 720. I bet they put down the phone because they've been on hold for a minute. Let's go out to 267. 267.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Zach. This is Dana. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Good. I just first wanted to congratulate you and Sweet Lady on your baby coming. I think it's amazing. So I just want to say congratulations to that. And just in general about family, just a word of advice from, a parent that's similar age to you, is I always try to be what I needed for my kids, that I didn't get. I had two parents, they were always together until the day my mom passed in 2018. Unfortunately, my dad had an alcohol problem and he was very controlling, and my mom was very meek and mild-mannered, and they had 5 children. The first child was murdered before I was even born. It was like 1975. I was born in 82. And that was a result of my father, whom liked to be out in the bars rather than being home with his family. And he was an amateur boxer, so he had a reputation. He beat up some motorcycle gang people, and they ended up murdering my 6-year-old sister. That caused so much trauma with my parents, and it trickled down. My mom at the time actually was pregnant with my oldest brother, who has a slew of mental health issues. And I read at some point that severe trauma in the womb can cause mental health issues down the road. And I 100% know that that's true because of what happened to my brother. Strangely enough, he's very intelligent, and he told us things back in the early 2000s that we all thought he was nuts for, and now, these years later, I'm like, wow, he was correct. So the fine line between mental illness and brilliance. But what my parents did to me as a result of their own trauma really affected me as an adult. I wanted so badly to get away from them. My dad didn't support me in anything that I wanted to do. He always wanted to control me. It caused me to rebel. I just wanted to get away. And what did I do? I fell for the first man as soon as I was out of high school, and ended up married and pregnant at a young age, had my daughter. I ended up with cancer when I was 21. It was just a struggle for years. And then he had died. My husband died when he was 30. In 2010, I was still just immature minded because, like I said, my parents just were very controlling. I wasn't allowed to experience a life when I was younger because my mom was so scared something would happen to me. I was never allowed out. I didn't do anything. And I was so naive to even my husband's drug addiction. I did not even know he was on drugs. He hid it very well. He didn't look like a drug addict. He was a very strong man. So I was depressed, fell for the next one that came along the way. And I had cancer. They told me I could never have children, but I ended up having my son. And, you know, now I've been a single mom for a long time, and it's a struggle, obviously, but I just try to do the best that I can for my kids and be, you know, a good parent, you know, try to co-parent the best that I can with my son's dad. It's important for him to have his dad, regardless of, you know, any issues that we may have had. And it's just, I feel sad for my kids because they don't have, like family. Because, you know, after my mom died, she was like the glue that held everyone together. And my dad he's just horribly toxic, always meddling in everyone's business. I call him a negative manifester. And he would always be so negative towards me. And my life was always just kind of up and down. And I had to cut him off after that. And I've grown and healed so much since then. You know, so I just wanted to put that out there, you know, for anyone that is a parent or thinking of becoming a parent. It's not easy. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do. But it's also the most important and rewarding. You're not perfect. You'll make mistakes along the way, but just try to be what you needed as a child. You know, I have a very open communication with my children, something that I didn't have. So, you know, I've tried to do the best I can. My daughter graduated, you know, with her associate's degree recently. She's going back to school again. And that's something I was never able to do. So that means a lot to me. And I'm hoping, you know, my son will prosper too. So I just wanted to call and talk about family, because family is very important to me, but I don't have that extended family. I can't talk to, you know, my dad or anybody like that because it's just so horribly toxic. And he also would he would start showing up like where I live. I can't even deal with that. My life is peaceful now. I know you struggle with your mom so much, and I understand where you come from. But one thing I always saw about your mom was, she will say some things to you about your work, but she supports you, and that's meaningful to me as someone that had zero support from anyone. It was always, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong, you can't do this, you can't do that. Meanwhile, I was doing fine, you know. So I just wanted to say that, you know, a little bit of info, and I wish you and Sweet Lady the best. When I found out that you were having a baby, I was like, oh my God, that is just so amazing. Because, you know, we're getting older and things like that. So, and it's nice to see how patient you're being. That's very important with, you know, the woman that's carrying your baby. So I wish you guys the best.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate your call. So thank you very much.
Of course. You take care, and hello to everyone. If everyone's doing well out there, take care of yourself.
All right. I appreciate that too. Thank you, 267.
Yep. Have a good one. Bye.
You too. Okay. I see 704 is on hold. I think that's the same person who requested this stream, so we're about to go out to her. I just wanted to emphasize what she's saying too. Sometimes you just have people in your life, and it's out of your control about having them have more positive behavior, and they can be a major detriment. She told the story of a father and his violence, and how that came back on her own sister. Sometimes if you can't control the situation, rather than becoming part of the chaos again, you just got to remove yourself from the situation. And that's like what I said when I found the family that liked having me over, and I was having fun playing with my buddy, and even his older sister was cool too. We were all kind of friends. We all played games together growing up, and that was my safe spot to be each day, and I didn't have to hear the chaos of the super stressed out parents who both came from broken homes. So yeah, removing the negative things from your life when that's within your power, that's sometimes what you got to do, unfortunately. All right, and now 704, I believe it is. I believe it's the same caller who wanted to talk this topic. Is it you, 704?
It is Zach. Hi, how are you doing?
Welcome back. You got the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, yeah, so yeah, it's a great topic. Obviously, I can relate. And aside from talking about my own personal experiences, and I'm sure everyone can go through a list of traumas that they've experienced with their own families. It's ultimately people, these unhealed people who have been traumatized, they grow into adults that never do the work it takes to get to a better place. They live in their trauma for the rest of their life. They have kids. They go on to repeat the cycle because, coming from a background where I've experienced pretty much nothing short of hell, it's taken a lot of work over the years and a lot of serious reflection and hard, diligent effort to be truthful about what I've experienced, coming to terms with that, how it affects the different things that I do in life, the routes that I take, the interactions that I have with people. And, I'm able to have healthy relationships nowadays because I worked through all of that. Of course, there was a time where things were quite turbulent because of the damage my family did and everything we dealt with growing up. But, I just hope that people out here can, face themselves and really do the work they need to do to be honest with themselves, to put forth the effort, because I think it's just like anything in life, like brushing your teeth. You have to do that action every day to maintain the health of your mouth, or exercise to maintain the health of your body, or eat right, And it's the same thing with your mental health and the relationships that you have in your life. They don't just take care of themselves, especially in a world where it's so determined to tear it down and to break relationships and to break your mental health. You have to be diligent every day about fighting it off and about overcoming all of the information that we're getting bombarded with. And like you were saying yesterday, we have to confront all of the negativity in life, but we have to put it to use. We can't just sit in that energy, and we can't just sit in the energy of traumatized, experiences that we've had with our families. We can't just hold on to these things and never grow from them. And I feel like as an adult, I just see so many damaged people that are kind of stuck at that age where whatever they experience, they never move past it, and they go on and dump their toxicity out in the world. So yeah, I just think that that's, what's important for us as an adult. And personally, I'm not a parent, but I grew up, with a single mother, and I was the oldest, so I was helping to raise the younger ones and doing all of that stuff. And I think ultimately, this could be my ignorant opinion, but I think ultimately the goal of parenthood should be to raise people who are great at making decisions. If you can establish discernment and their ability to critically think about their options in life, then isn't that the ultimate goal, I would think? I don't know. What do you have an opinion on that, as far as how you want to raise your child? Do you feel like you want to raise them to independently make their decisions and hope that they choose right? Or do you want to like kind of tell them what to do? And I don't know.
I agree 1,000,000%. When I taught fifth grade, every day I would just think of a problem or a life scenario and write it up on the board, and then just wanted to volunteer and talk about it in the morning. Because that's how I explain to them. I say, the best thing any teacher can do is teach you critical thinking so that you know how to solve problems for the rest of your life and make intelligent decisions. And I emphasize that to my class all the time, and tried to start a discussion every day about solving a problem and critical thinking. So yeah, I'll absolutely do the same thing with my own child. 100%.
Yeah, I have no doubts that you will. And I think that, you know, for instance, I grew up because I was the oldest and, you know, my family structure was the way it was. You know, I was living on my own at 13 and life just kind of moved really quickly for me. But my brother and sister, I'm almost 34. My brother and sister still live at home with my mom, and they're 29. And they very much never moved past their traumas. They're stagnant. My brother, you know, he's still at his first job, which he only just got at like 28. My sister, I like try to go eat with my family, you know, to spend some time with them. And my sister can't even order her own food. She has to like ask my mom to tell the waitress to order it for her. And, you know, my brother's never had a girlfriend or anything. And it's just like, I try to push them, but you know, my mom, she's just done so much damage. And I think that, I'm kind of the black sheep of the family nobody wants to talk to because I call these things out, and you know, I guess it just makes them feel kind of bad. But it's like I offer help when I tell them what the problem is and you know what they can do about their problems, but they never want to take the action. And I think it just goes back to she made every decision for them when they were kids, and now they don't know how to make decisions for themselves as adults. So
that makes a lot of sense.
I guess that's my 2 cents.
Well, about your own life, do you want a children and family?
You know, I feel like when I heard, you know, your news, and of course, congratulations about that, I was, to be honest, a little bit surprised because I was like, you know, Zach I feel like it's such a high risk decision these days. And not even accounting for the financial investment that it is, but just like what terrifies me about the thought of it is the influence. Like, if my influence on their life isn't enough, and again, it goes back to, do you trust that decision-making process that you instilled in them or not? And I don't know. I feel like I would just be too crushed if they turned out to be a way that I couldn't deal with. And it would be awesome to have that because I'm in a 10-year relationship. We've been married since 2020. And it would be great. That would be a beautiful creation. And I would love to raise someone who loves animals and the environment, and can do math better than I can. So maybe they can do what you do one day. But I don't know. It's just so scary, you know, that the world holds so much weight in what they could become.
I hear that. And that's kind of how my thinking was for a long time. But I think what's ultimately true is that you should not do things because of a fear, I think. You know what I mean? It's like you're letting the fear potential keep you from what could turn out to be great. And it sounds like, based on your mentality, that you would be a great parent. So.
Yeah, I mean, I know that that's true. And I am working on that, you know, not making fear-based decisions, which I never used to have an issue with when I was younger. Like, I would quit a job and be like, you know, there's something better for me right around the corner. I'm not worried. But these days I feel like I'm scared to leave my job. I'm scared to try to have a kid, you know, and especially when you don't have that extended family support too. Like, you know, it just feels like it would be a lonely experience because I don't know. I'm kind of a little bit of a recluse, like socially. I go to workout classes and stuff, but I don't have like friends, you know, like mom friends and stuff. So I don't know. And I don't know that I could be around people like that. I mean, how have you thought about like how you're going to interact with other parents who are just so immersed in the system and the values that their children might have, and how you'll deal with that in social situations like a soccer game or something?
I don't know if you're in a city or a small town, but I'm liking right now. I feel like I'm in the right neighborhood. Everyone's moving in. They're pregnant. They got little ones. The lady across the street, I just got invited to her child's first birthday. Pretty much on the same page, everything about the jabs, food, all this. So, and the other neighbor over here who's got a little one on the way. So there's going to be a bunch of little kids in this neighborhood, and the parents I'm talking to, everyone's kind of seeing things on a similar page. So I think you go to smaller towns, there's probably people that are closer to a mindset like what we have than we're in the city, where a lot more people are indoctrinated. So if that's an option for you.
That's a valid point. Yeah, I am in the city. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. So it's obviously become kind of a little southern hub down here. But I mean, maybe it just kind of aligned for you that way. Like it was right place, right time, and things are just kind of falling into place. And maybe if I do, end up changing my scenery, or, some things in my life change, then that, the right time could present itself. I don't know. But, it does seem like that kind of alignment just panned out for you, which is great. I mean, the timing, so many people have bad timing with, oh, I can't get pregnant right now. And, this can't be happening to me. It's not the right time. And, fortunately for you guys, it is the right time. So I think it'll be a great experience to have a tiny truth seeker to contribute to the future.
Yeah, but I mean, I hear everything you said too about your apprehension. Just like I said, the thing that's not good in this community right now is just seeing what's going on with the local environment, and how the river's got toxic algae in it, and it's just like those are the things that really concern me. It's just like so.
Yeah, I mean, and as far as like I've read parent books. Like last year, I went on a whole deep dive about, do I really want to have kids or not? So I really faced this question. And I was reading books about vaccines and, if they're mandatory, and home births and all this stuff. And I mean, it's like, yeah, I personally, it's like, I don't even want to register them for a social security number. Like, I don't want, but is that a life ruiner? It's just things like that I think about. And I'm like, I don't want them to be part of the system, but how can you not be? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And now I hear all your apprehensions. I guess the one thing that I started thinking about as I got a little bit older too is, you were talking about loneliness. I mean, as you get older in life, if you don't have any children, you don't have family left. I mean, that's another type of loneliness that could happen down the road too. So, and speaking of which, when I was down visiting my mom, she needed something at the grocery store, and I was like, I don't know if this is what this community turned into, or it's just like I'm here at the right time. I felt weird in the grocery store because all I was seeing in the grocery store were older women by themselves, and I just wondered. I was like, I wonder if all these women are older and single, and I was like, I hope they have some kind of support. So, I mean, that's the thing too. If you don't have children, someday, again, you might wish you had some. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I see a lot of people, like grandparents and stuff, that do have, kids and grandkids, and they don't get to see them as much.
That happens too.
I don't know, something about our society, like we don't want to deal with old people or something. I don't know.
Yeah. A lot of family structures are broken, and then I think that's another part of American culture. A lot of people, they feel like as soon as they're 18, they want to get as far away from home as possible, and that was me too. I went thousands of miles away when I became 18. So yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess that's pretty much what I had to contribute for today, because I don't want to hog up any more time. But I was hoping to maybe, in the future have conversations. I just drew a blank. I'll put in the chat though, what some other things that I was hoping to talk about at some point. But thank you for your time and your feedback. And I'll definitely I'll give it more thought and really continue working on the non-fear-based decision making.
Sure, because it does sound like you'd be a great parent. I mean, if the world's all going to fall apart, if it's ever going to come back together, it's going to need some good people. So you might raise some great people yourself. So anyway, I appreciate your call and for having the idea for this stream. Thank you.
All right. Have a good evening.
All right, you too. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I totally get where she's coming from, and in some ways, I still feel the same way as her. But sweet lady, she wanted to have children. The switch went on, and as they say, happy wife, happy life. Let's go out to 804. What's going on, 804?
Hello, how you doing, Zach? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
All right. I just want to ask just a quick question. So, like, how do you feel about like the influence of like your son is going to get like in the world, like, 'cause he's going to have his own man one day.
Wait, how do I feel about what?
Like, the influence of like the world future-wise. 'Cause today it's kind of hard. Like, say you get on social media and you see this one thing and other people talking about this situation of cutting off body parts and this and that. How do you feel about that? Like, for your kid?
Well, again, those are going to be all the obstacles, right? So, yeah, I mean that's something that every parent has to contend with, because a parent has only so much influence on the child. The world has the rest, and yeah, I'm very much aware of that. I mean, part of the reason in the past I used to say that I'm not so sure I ever want to have kids, even though I like kids, is because I don't like the state of affairs in the world. But like I just said to the last lady, if we're ever going to make the world a better place, we're going to need more better people, and it's going to take, you know, good children raised by good parents, I suppose.
Right. One more question. I want to know, because I remember earlier you said something about, who was it that you said they want to talk about the Yankees whenever you call them?
My dad?
Yeah. So, like, say if like anybody else you talk to and they want to just talk sports, like, do you just straight up tell them, like, because I know they know what you do, but do you straight up tell them about, like, do you go in depth with it, like go along with the flow and be like, oh yeah, I think this gonna happen, this and that, or you just tell them it's rigged, or you just let them talk?
Well, it depends on who I'm talking to. My dad knows what I think, and he mostly agrees with me now, but he still loves the Yankees anyway. It's just like my friend Darrell. He knows the games are rigged, but he still loves the Raiders, and he still enjoys watching the Raiders. My dad's a huge baseball fan. Again, if you haven't heard me say it before, he spent a lot of his free time when he was around me raising me to play baseball. I was a good baseball player when I was younger, and I kind of quit playing baseball as a teenager out of rebellion. And my dad didn't talk to me for several months after I quit playing baseball. He was super disappointed that I would quit. And I look back and I kind of regret that I quit. And I did do that kind of out of teenage angst. And yeah, kind of a dumb decision looking back. But yeah, my baseball has always been very important to my father. It's his favorite thing in the whole world. And that's why I just let him talk baseball. So.
Right. Thank you, Zach. You have a great one, and congratulations to you and sweet lady. And y'all got this. Y'all got it. I know you go guide them the right way in life. And yeah, sir, you have a good one.
All right. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, again, it's like my dad. He's that born in the early '50s baby boomer generation, raised in front of the TV from Portland, Oregon, where there's not a pro team. Grew up watching Yankee games, so childhood thing. What's up, 281?
What's going on, dude? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good. Got a lot of good people calling and giving you good sound advice. And the person who said the number one thing to teach your children is effective decision making, that's it.
I agree.
That's the perfect thing.
Yeah.
An educational underpinning is, you ever heard of the trivium?
Yeah. I have a love-hate relationship with Mark Passio, but he's always pounding home the point about the trivium.
Yep, grammar, rhetoric, and logic. You teach those two things, everything else follows. It flows through. But a lot of good input. By the way, Portland, Oregon is the home of the largest female divorcee population in the United States. It's been that way for like 40 plus years.
Wait, does that mean the females are leading the divorce?
Yeah, in fact, women initiate divorce more so than men. That's why you have all these guys flipping out and killing their ex-wives and things like that. And it's not always peace. I've had 3 friends who I walked through a divorce with. It's not a pretty thing. The guy always takes it worse. So, and a couple of my brothers have never made it through their marriage. So it's just but you have a solid relationship, and it's built on the right attributes. So.
We've also never lived in Portland. That is my home city. And just to be clear, my sister didn't lead the divorce. Her husband divorced her. Just for the record. For
okay, well, in that situation, yeah, that's but a lot of times it's the other way around. But the marriage, don't answer it. My father gave me the best advice in marriage. Said, "Dad, what's your advice in marriage?" Said, "Son, don't get married unless you're good and ready." And I was neither good nor ready. So, and it's because you're responsible for that other person just as much as they are responsible for you. And if you don't have the same values, it's not going to work, period.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's so important if you choose a life partner and you're going to have children and get married, you got to find somebody who is on the same page as you. Again, I dated a lot of people before I met Sweet Lady. When I met her, it was a timing thing. I was the right age. I was nearly 30. And I just knew that the things that like I was really about, she was about: health, fitness, education, honesty, direct, just the qualities she had. I said, this is a really good group of qualities right here. This is great. So.
Right. And you have to evaluate it instead of just on pure, physical or sexual attraction. At the end of the day, you're going to be the day in, day out living. Can you do that? Can you sustain that? Can you do that without getting on each other's nerves? And a lot of couples can't do that. It's funny you brought up that your friend's house when you used to go over to when you were young, and the laughing and the camaraderie and the just the wholesomeness of the whole thing. And I think everybody gets a chance to see that once growing up, and they can choose for themselves if they would imitate that or not.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
Anything else you would like to add to this conversation?
No, that's just about it. Congratulations. Very happy for you. I listened to your positive, negative discourse the other night. That was pretty interesting. Positive, you got to work at. That's hard.
Sure.
Because you live in a pretty much a negative world, and it's more difficult nowadays, given what's going on and everything.
Yeah.
And the more you're aware, the more you're encumbered by it. But it can be done. It's a spiritual thing, and it's a mental thing. And that was a good conversation. But anyway, just thought I'd give you a couple thoughts.
All right. Good to hear you. Appreciate it, 281.
All
right. Have a good night.
Take care.
Now, there is somebody who did not like the stream I did yesterday. And I mentioned them and kept their name anonymous because I do care about that person and I do respect that person. But the only point I was trying to make is one little thing really pissed him off a lot. And that there was more emotion and feeling and words that came out of the one little thing, which I didn't think was that important, than the number of nice things we'd done. And I'll tell you what, I got screamed at on the phone last night. And Sweet Lady was like, "Who is this woman yelling at you like she's your wife?" I was like, I said, I don't want to know. That person might be out there. Listen, if you're out there watching right now, like I said, I'm not mad at you. I was just making the point about how people, like, one little thing can really irk them. You can do 100 nice things, and then all that ends up is mattering is the one thing you did wrong. And I think that if you realize that's true about yourself, like you handle things that way, I just like wish humanity would stop being that way. Because I've never been that way. I always want to forgive people and be like, okay, I didn't like that, but hey, I still like this thing about that person. That's what I want to focus on, the thing that I like about that person. All right, let's go out to 202. What's up, 202?
How you doing? How you doing, guys?
Yeah, what's going on?
Hey, going back to the caller, the girl that was talking about whether she was hesitant on whether or not she should bring a kid into this world because of
Hold on.
society is.
Pause. Is there any way you can change your phone? It's hard to hear.
Hold on. I'm at a restaurant right now. Hold on.
That sounded better right there. I heard that clearly.
Hello?
Let's just go. I'm here and I'm listening.
Hold on, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, going back to the caller that was talking about whether or not she should bring a kid into this world based on how society is. I think with how they're trying to depopulate the world, I think the only way to fight this spiritual war or whatever you want to call it is to have more kids. The more kids, the better. Especially melanated people, on how they're trying to make melanated people go extinct. So I think everybody should push to have more kids. I'm planning on having 10 or 15 kids, you know? So yeah, that's what I had to say.
Okay, I hear the sentiment, and it goes against the agenda, right? They're trying to get rid of us, so if they're trying to get rid of us to fight back, we got to have more kids. I hear that too. All right, appreciate it, 202.
And question.
Oh, go ahead.
Question. So based on what you already know about, what's really going on out here, how are you planning on raising your kids? Are you planning on putting them through the 13-year play school, or how are you planning on raising your kids?
I'm planning on not having them go to public school based on what's going on there. I mean, if things changed in public school and the agendas that are in place right now stopped, I'd consider it, because I came up in public school and it wasn't the worst for me, but public school is a lot different now than when I was a kid. So
have you been planning on, have you ever thought about living in another country? Does your missus job allow her to work in like another country, for example? Because at this point, I would have thought you would have been left the U.S. to be honest.
Your call got unclear again, 202. So I'm having trouble hearing this part that you're bringing up right now.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Just call back in another time. I'm going to keep doing live streams so you can call back and say, hey, I'm continuing the conversation from the family stream.
Okay, no problem.
All right. Thanks, 202. Have a good one. All right. Sometimes these cell phones don't cooperate. What's up, 510?
Hey, what's up, man? Hey, I think the other guy was saying that if you were willing to move to another country, I'm not sure if
is that what he said? I couldn't hear it. Man, maybe your speakers are better than mine. We're not planning to move to another country. I mean, the problems that are happening here are happening in the world. So.
Yeah, I would agree. Most of the world, even in other countries like in South America, Central America, even in Mexico currently, because of the president, apparently a lot of them over there are getting woke, so they started to teach the kids pronouns and shit, which I thought would be crazy, man, because at one point in time, Mexico, I mean, it is still super Catholic, but it's like, it's crazy to think that that's going on. Like, people would never, my great-grandparents and my granddad, they never wore condoms, because it was against, the Catholic practice or whatever. The Pope told them not to wear condoms, so they just had kids all the time. And anyways, that's crazy to think that, it is technically going on everywhere, even in Argentina, fucking Paraguay. So yeah, all I was gonna say was just about the topic. I mean, I just chose, as you mentioned before, I think the best course of action when it comes to a lot of things with your family, try to be patient with them. I think over the years, as I've grown older, I try to be a lot more patient because, I mean, I might come off as like, you know, I guess, certain people when they see me, they think I'm relatively shy. They think I usually don't talk a lot. But to be honest, I don't really talk to a lot of people because a lot of people, as I mentioned beforehand, a lot of people are fucking, hey man, I don't want to waste my time with stupid shit and like talk about who's doing this and who's doing that. The minute you try to engage in the conversation, I can't begin to tell you how many times, like, right, I would try to actually, like, I would think about something and at a reflex, I'd be like, oh man, that's pretty fucked up what's going on here. And a lot of people, literally, I've heard this throughout my life, like, why are you talking like a white person? Why are you talking like a white guy? I'm like, dude, it has nothing to do with them, man. Like, this isn't an actual topic conversation, all right? But you know, I learned over the years just to let it be, you know, it's like whatever. These people will never engage in the topic. But yeah, and you know, my upbringing, I mean, it was a lot more violent. It was a lot more hands-on. So I think even for me, you know, I try not to be, because generally speaking, you know, when my point, when I brought that up, what I was trying to say is that I'm generally pretty annoyed about everything, right? And that's also another aspect why I don't want to talk to people, because they shit up for stupid shit, and they think that it's like a normal thing to say the stupid shit that they say, and I just don't want to deal with it, right? So, but I learned over the years just got to be more and more patient. Even with my brother, right? He's also a hothead, but he thinks entirely different. You know, he splits like the whole get money, like get women, and that's fine. I don't see John there. You know, he's like 10 years younger than me, so I understand. You know that most men want to have most straight men, they don't want to have relations with other women or whatever. You know, it's great. Women are great. I love them. You know, I love everything about them. And obviously, towards the end of that, those interactions, be able to have a family. But yeah, in certain situations, I just try to be a lot more patient than I was before, and that sort of helped me out. Because even when I speak to my brother, sometimes he's like really angry, and he doesn't even want to begin to think about like what else is going on in the world. Or when I try to explain to him, like, hey man, like put your money here, don't waste your money. But I've learned that actually to be far more effective. Even though he's like, sometimes I have to kind of cross that shit barrier. But when he gets angry, when he's like, because he puts up a wall, like, oh man, that's just fucking stupid. Like he'll tell it to my face, like, you're stupid. Like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Are you gay or something? And I'm like, no, and we're not even talking about this is the stupidity of it sometimes, right? Because we're not even talking about anything related to like your sexual orientation or your gender or whatever. We're talking about literally something like having to do with the economy or like I'll try to tell them like, hey man, invest your money over here. You'll get more bang for your buck, so to speak, right? And like after I get that over that bridge, over that hump though, he slowly kind of he starts to rethink a lot of what I said, and he's like, hey, you know what, man, you're right, yeah. Like you said this, and I thought you were completely fucking stupid, but then you actually made sense. So and I've learned that to be more effective. So I think generally speaking, I think patience is the key. Despite me being also like as I mentioned, overly aggravated with the world, I'm pretty patient with a lot of people. I just have to personally see like the willingness of certain people to want to engage, and want to talk and actually want to learn. And that's the one thing I also never understood about, like, for example, my Catholic background, a lot of people, they always preach patience. They always say, I remember even going to the Sunday school and all that, and up to going to church with my mom, because my mom would force us to go. They always talk about patience and teaching your kids this and that. And then I look at the households and I'm like, hey, you guys aren't patient at all with your kids. Like every time you're like, I remember when my nephews, right, they would ask questions like, hey, what's the Milky Way galaxy? Or like, hey, why are there worms around? Or they'll say like, hey, why do we breathe oxygen? Like the parents, right, they'd be fucking annoyed. Like what the fuck are you talking about? Shut the fuck up. And I'd be like, dude, what's your problem, man? Like you have to, like, they have questions, dude. Like I have no, and I will literally try to sit there with them, and it'll take a couple hours just for me to try to explain to them, at that point in time, they were like 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. But, and then I'm sitting here thinking like, dude, this is what's wrong with the world. How the fuck are you going to say one thing and then act completely a different way and then think it's fine? And then you sit here and then think like, why is the world shit the shit place? It's because you're not a good person. You know, the whole society is just twisted, man, in that way, though. And I just can't believe the hypocrisy of some people, right? Especially when it comes to that, especially, obviously, you know, the whole religious deal. Well, we're obviously not. I mean, I respect religion, but I'm not religious at all, so. But anyway, that's one thing with that. I would like press people to be more patient. You'll probably there'll be like a threshold where you think you can't take it, but trust me, if you kind of stay with it, because that's helped me a lot with my brother. And again, we had issues before in the past, and I think over the last couple of years, it's gotten better. It's like me not losing my patience either, and be like, all right, man, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm gonna stay calm. I'm gonna just talk to him. I understand he doesn't get what I'm saying. They'll come around, and that generally helps stuff. And that's it, man. That's all I got to say. So,
All right.
Appreciate everybody in the chat.
Yeah, I appreciate your call. The chat appreciated your call too. So thank you.
We appreciate it, man.
All right, you have a good one. For the people fighting in the chat, here, let me intervene. First of all, if somebody's bothering you, you can block them yourself. You don't need a mod to block it. But the comment that pissed off the other person, don't date a woman who didn't have a father. You could understand why that's going to provoke people. I mean, because what if you're the woman who was born and you didn't have a father in your house? I mean, that's obviously going to provoke, right? There could be an element of truth to what you're saying, because my sister was really hard on her husband. I picked up on that. It was like she was unappreciative, and I know she learned that from my mom, because my mom, she worked my dad hard. My mom gets mad, but I have a fair perspective on this. I'm not taking sides. My mom had my dad on a schedule. He knew when he got home, he needed to get chores done or he was going to get bitched at by my mom. But the reality was, even if he got the chores done, my mom was still going to bitch at him. And again, that's grinding. And I picked up on the same type of thing going on in my sister's house before they got the divorce. I was just like, man, ease up. Like, come on, this guy put you up in the mansion in the hill. Like, chill. God. But I didn't know about the cheating thing going on behind the scene. And maybe that was the same thing with my mom, too. Maybe that's really what's behind all the anger and frustration and nothing's good enough. But then again, I never cheated on my mom. I mean, obviously, hopefully no son's cheating on their mom or nothing weird like that going on. But I'm just making the point that nothing was ever good enough for my mom either that I did. It was always never good enough. It was okay, not bad, but it better be even better next time. It's like, I can't do better, Mom. It's an A+. Can't I get a thank you or a good job or something? So, I mean, but still, I mean, if you say something like that, you can't just throw blanket statements out in the world and not expect to piss people off. I'm sure there's plenty of people that came up in a fatherless household who turned out to be great people. So, I mean, I just, I don't, it's never good to make blanket statements. The stereotypes do exist. I mean, it might be true 8 out of 10 times, but for the 2 out of 10 that it's not true, just because you haven't met that person yet, that's why you're also saying that. And on that note, I meant to say this yesterday. A gentleman called in and said he really likes watching Low Key TV. Or is it Low Key T? I think it's Low Key T. He's the guy who said it's the great rapper who's called into the show sometimes. But something that I don't like that he does is he's always complaining about women. He's saying, and he doesn't refer to them as women. He refers to women as bitches. He's always complaining about bitches. How there's no bitches out there. He's never going to find a bitch. It's like, well, dude, that's half the problem right there. That you're referring to them all as bitches. And that's a hip hop thing too, right? Because except for Tupac. Tupac had the song "Wonder Why We Call You Bitch," and then he laid out the reason for why some women get called bitches. If you grew up in my generation, I know you know that song. But yeah, I mean, perspective is everything. If your mentality is that women are bitches and they're all sluts and hoes and whores, and the other thing about Low Key T, like, I don't think he'll feel bad about me calling him out, but then he's talking about next thing how, like his women today is just like jerking off to porn. So it's like, okay, this is now your perspective of women. They're bitches. They're sluts on the screen. You don't want a relationship. You're cool with just the porn. It sounds like the agenda got you. I think that's exactly where they want everybody to be at. Just like fed up with the opposite sex. essentially having sex with yourself, watching a screen. So I do like low key tea as well, but that's the one thing that he talks about where I'm just like, this isn't good. And here, not to put down American women, there's good American women out there, but seriously, there's a lot of international women in the country. And the thing about a lot of international women is they're a lot more traditional, because in America, the women were taught, like, don't be traditional. Traditional is old fashioned and bad, but it's not. So, I mean, there's good women in the world. And that's, I'm not trying to put down American women too, because there's good American women, but you're having trouble finding the traditional woman, you might want to try yourself out one of these international ladies that are all over the country right now. And I don't think that's a bad thing either. Some people might be, I'm supporting the New World Order agenda. Listen, sweet lady's from Burma, and she is just a classic lady for the most part. Well, she's a classic lady and a modern lady, I'd say, because she's educated and wants a career too, but she does a good job of balancing it all, in my opinion. So anyway. Let's go out to 917. What's up, 917?
Yeah, hello, good evening. I'm fairly new to your website and the live streams here. How do I find out in advance when you're doing one of these live streams?
I don't do things on a schedule, unfortunately. I eventually I'll get back to doing things on a schedule, but just if you get a notification and you got free time, that's kind of how it's going on.
Okay, yeah, I was just wondering because, you know, I just happened to find it today by accident here, tuning in to see that you were on now.
Yeah, I used to have a Wednesday night show always at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern. That was the only thing I've ever done that's scheduled. But I'll tell you what, for the next 2 months, I plan to start live streams every day, sometime around 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 Eastern. Some days it might start an hour earlier or an hour later, but always around this time frame is when I plan to stream, around 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 Eastern. So,
Right. Okay. The other thing was, you know, I'm in New York here, New York City. I watched your 9/11 video. Just wondering if you got any plans to come to the Big Apple anytime soon.
you know, I wish the answer to that question was yes. I'm going to talk to Sweet Lady if I can make a quick trip out there for at least a day, because I would like to come out there sooner than later. If I can get her on board with it, it might happen. I'll let people know in advance if that is the case. But I wanted to make it a tradition of being out there every year for 9/11 to raise awareness about the real agenda that day and what they've been doing to us in this country ever since, and really even before it happened. So there's a small chance I might get out there again for 9/11, and if that does happen, I'll keep everyone posted.
Okay, all right, that would be good. Okay, thank you. Have a good evening.
All right, thank you for reaching out. It's funny. It says there's 212 people on the stream right now. That's the Manhattan area code. Let's go out to 424. What's up, 424?
Hey, what's going on, Zach?
Yeah, what's going on?
I'm from Play. I know you about to have a kid. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I got 3 of my own, and the thing I could say is, like, kids. I got 3, and they're all under the age of 5. So we had them back to back to back.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
Unscheduled. Unscheduled. You know, we don't plan it, but you know, kids they help you to realize things about yourself that you got to learn, that you gotta fix about yourself that you may not have been aware of before having them. Right. And that's if you really pay attention to them and you really pay attention to yourself. You know, you just gotta, you know, try to look in the mirror and try to fix yourself in ways that you never thought you would have to without having kids, you know. But even before having kids, like I had my first son during COVID, the weirdest time to have a fucking kid, because I'm in the hospital. They say, okay, we're going to induce her, boom, boom, boom. We had, all right, well, I guess we got to stay. Luckily, we had the bag to stay. And we had them. And then an hour later, they told me I had to leave. And I'm like, bro, I've been here for 2 days straight. And you telling me I got to leave just because of COVID, but I've been in this room the whole time? Like, that doesn't even make sense. So they end up kicking us out. So my next 2 kids after that, because I think that experience like kind of irritated my girl. And she was like, you know what, we're going to have home birth. We're going to have a home birth. So I ended up figuring that out, and she ended up doing it the first time. And even before then, like, the reception behind it, like me telling people like, yeah, my girl's going to have a home birth, everybody's like, oh, she's crazy, yada, yada, yada. And it's just like, bro, y'all negative. But I felt like, all right, well, we're going to do it even more. Like, I really want to do it even more because everybody's like, oh, I can't do it. Like, I need the epidural. And I'm like, do y'all even know, like, what type of fucking shit they put in me with the epidural? Do you know, like, the inducing? Like, that shit fucking traumatizes the baby, plus it traumatizes the girl. So they're not even paying attention to how much fake contractions they're doing. Like, the contractions compared to, like, inside the hospital getting induced is way different than the contractions that you feel at home. Even though you don't have no, thing substituting or whatever. She when she explained it's crazy. I can't really explain it because all I can do is just watch it, and it's unbelievable how strong she is to be able to do that type of shit. But just in general, like, everybody was negative until she was able to do it, and I came back and told them. They was like, "Oh, congratulations!" And then we did it again. And it's just like, wow, oh, that's amazing. I'm like, yeah, you guys gotta have a different outlook on life compared to like what we were doing back then, anyway. But I get that type of reception just based on how I raise my kids in general. My kids don't have an iPad. We try to limit as much TV as we can. Like she stays home with them. So if she's there at home and she's like too overwhelmed, she might put the TV on, but that depends on if she has to get something done. You get me? But TV, that's limited. They don't eat any type of fucked up foods. My kid, the only time my son, my firstborn, had meat was, I think her grandma gave him to him. And we were pissed off about that because it's like, bro, I haven't ate meat since 2020. And that's when he was born. And we're trying to do something different that none of my ancestors, well, the people that I know, you, with my grandmother and everybody above them, everybody that we know, everybody's been eating meat, everybody's been eating all this processed food. We're trying to do something different with our offspring that, we haven't done. And everybody responds is, oh, you grew up just fine. You're all right. You had this. A little bit of this is not going to affect them. A little bit of this is not going to change them. And it's like, how the fuck do you know? You don't know because you wasn't really paying attention. You didn't have the information that we have now. You don't have the understanding of the internet and how looking up simple things, simple ingredients will open your mind to knowing, hey, this is not this specific ingredient is something that you find in fucking gasoline or something else. It's crazy to think about. People give their kids these processed cereals or these processed candies that got all of these dyes in them, and they don't really understand how much it affects them. Right. And I know for a fact it affects my kids because people don't pay attention to, like, okay, my son, he doesn't watch TV. Haven't watched TV probably like a week or two. Boom. But we go over my sister's house, and then they're eating. She might try to give them a Skittle or something, and these Skittles might have red 40, yellow dyes, blue dyes, and these colors are linked to specific behaviors. So it might be a kid feeling sad because they had these blue dyes in them, or it might be because they had red 40 and they're extra irritated and get mad and just can't control their emotions. Or it might be just in general, like they affect the kid's mood, and you can see that it affects them a day or two later because it went through their digestive tract, and now their emotions is uncontrollable because they can't control it. Yes, kids have temper tantrums and they have they can't really control their emotions. But it's a difference between something that's bothering them inside, internally, that's affecting them to not be able to control their emotions, and then it's just being a kid that can't control your emotions. If you know your kid, if you're around your kid a lot, you pay attention, you will know the difference between them eating processed foods and their emotions behind that, or them just being a kid and having emotions and just can't control their emotions. Like they'll argue about toys, and we'll be like, all right, you got to share, put a timer on, and then once the timer go off, they see, okay, well, it's his turn now, and it won't be no argument. Or if they're hungry, I'm hungry, and it won't be an argument. Or I want to watch TV. No, we're not watching TV today, and it won't be an argument. Compared to if they already watch TV for a week straight, they're overstimulated to want to watch it, so now they're crying. If it was 2 weeks since they haven't watched TV, me saying, okay, we're going to put on TV for an hour and that's it, they'll watch it and be happy because they haven't watched it. And then if it's 2 days in a row watching TV, they're like, I want to watch this. And they're crying because they can't watch a specific show or whatever. And the same thing with the food. If they're eating the candy that they haven't had, plus not watching TV, they'll just be overstimulated. It got all of these things inside their system that they can't regulate or control because that's what the fucking ingredients are doing to the kids. And people don't know it. Like me growing up in high school, eating hot Cheetos and shit for the beginning of school and everything else, like hot Cheetos and shit for breakfast because my mom probably didn't have time to make lunch or whatever.
Listen,
it's a big difference.
When I taught in South Seattle, man, the kids' lunches, like almost everybody's lunch was a Capri Sun, a bag of chips, and a granola bar with chocolate chips. And I just saw that's like the whole community was feeding their children. I just thought, man, chips, candy bars, and sugar drink. So yeah, a lot of kids are coming up that way.
Yeah, and then we wonder why a lot of kids have these problems of not being able to pay attention.
Exactly.
I'm starting to think back on why I didn't pay attention in class.
Exactly.
I was so hell-bent on making people laugh in class, not understanding why I felt like I needed to make people laugh, but also like irritated that I couldn't pay attention as much as I wanted to. Not saying that I didn't try, I tried, but it's just my mind is all over the place in school. But I'm starting to think back, what the fuck was I eating? Did I get enough sleep? Was I watching too much TV? Like, what were all of these things linked to me not being able to focus in school? Because now that I think back, when I did go to college for a few years, and I was able to like hone in on paying attention and doing my classwork, whatever, or my senior year, when I had a job and going to school, I was able to hone in on really trying to work and do schoolwork. I'm like, why was I not doing this before? But I probably was eating healthier than I was when I was younger. Plus, I was working out more. You know, that detoxify your body and everything else. But yeah, man, you just gotta, because people are gonna have the wrong type of good. They're gonna have the wrong advice, and you gotta have your own advice. Like the thing that you said earlier, you and your girl have to be on the same page with a lot of things. Family and friends and all these people are gonna have different opinions. They might say some shit to you outside of you being with your girl that might be negative. And to be honest, I'm like a real communicative dude. I don't really give a fuck if anybody says something to me. I'm always come back and tell my girl about it. If it's my mom, friends, sister, whatever it is, I'm gonna come and tell her just so she's aware, but also it's just something to talk about. Like, yeah, they said that. And it's just like, okay, we gotta understand that. And a lot of people don't have that understanding. A lot of people, you know, get influenced by their family members, get influenced by their mom and everything else. But when you're deciding to be with somebody for a long time or a long period of time, you have to have that open communication to be able to discuss hard topics, hard things in life in order to progress your relationship, in order to bring your relationship to a higher standard than you ever had before with anybody else. Because at the end of the day, we grown. Why the fuck are we playing around? If I'm not in a relationship, cool. I'll do whatever I want to do, have sex with whatever women I want to have sex with because I'm single. But if I'm planning on being with somebody, dating or whatever the case is, and I'm going to be with them, go all in. Don't fucking play around. We too grown to play around. If you want to play around, be single and do what the fuck you want to do. But if you want to be in a relationship, take that shit serious. Especially if you about to end up having kids or fucked around and had kids when you didn't plan to. Like, when you were above 25, 30 years old, I was more mature coming out of high school. Just in general, I was more mature than a lot of my friends and everything else. So you got to be able to have that mindset to be like, fuck everything else. I got to provide for my family, provide for just me and her. Or if you got kids, provide for them. And fuck all the bullshit and everybody else having an influence on your relationship unless it's positive. Take what you can from a lot of things and a lot of people that you can from for your relationship that's positive. Even a negative shit. If somebody's in your life that having a negative impact in their relationship and you're aware of it, you see it or it's discussed, probably come back to your relationship and discuss it and try to, help you guys understand if that situation was to happen, what would we do, how will we fix it, how will we get going? Because a lot of the conversations that we should have is hard conversations that we should have before it happens, because we're both aware of what we should do while we're not angry. You get what I'm saying? Like, we're not mad. We haven't went through this situation before, and we're clear-minded. We're just having a conversation. So if this situation do come up, we already discussed how we could come together, how we can combat a situation like this from happening to end up splitting us or whatever. It's just a conversation. A lot of people don't even know how to talk. So, having hard conversations with your partner in the early stages of your relationship might help you in the long run. But yeah, man, just in general, like, your work alone opened my eyes to like realizing a lot of people are immature mentally when it comes to just paying attention to things that we should pay attention to. Like, you'll watch a million movies with a million things going on that have to do with the specific things that this dude that speak about Gematria is speaking about. The movie might be about a heist or the government, shadow government, everything in the world that's going on in real life. It might have the same thing in a movie, and you'll sit here and watch it and be like, wow, this is crazy. But when I speak on it actually happening in real life, you can't perceive it the same way. You can't, oh my God, this is really happening? I want to know more. How the fuck is this really happening? This is not just in movies? No, it's not just in movies. You should fucking understand that. So, telling my friends and telling my family and everything else, it's an eye-opener to understand. A lot of people don't want to raise their consciousness to be able to understand it. Like my friend, he sent me a video of Spiritual Soul. I remember you was talking about it a long time ago. But when he was like, you need to learn Gematria. You need to learn Gematria, yada, yada, yada. And I'm telling my friend a year ago about it. Like, I'm sending him videos, sending him the stuff that you were saying about the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl, just trying to, when last year when all the Ravens deaths was happening, I'm just sending them all the information. Like, bro, like, look at this. Like, when I send people stuff, I try to start with like the Will Smith situation. I'll send them the video with Sidney Poitier and Will Smith, because that's like the biggest eye opener right there. I like to show them that video and see what they say or see what they think. And a few people that I did show, they don't really care for it, or they just like, oh wow, that's all right, whatever. But the stuff that I'm sending my friend, he'll come back and be like, wow, this is the shit that you pay for? And I'm just like, what? Like, what are you talking about? I was like, bro, this is stuff that I win money on majority of the time, and half of this shit is right. And when it came down to the Super Bowl, this shit was right. The Chiefs ended up winning. When it came down to the playoff game, the caller that called in that said, hey, if this specific situation happened with the 49ers and the Lions, I think 50-something years ago, this same situation happened. And I told him, hey, bro, if it's 24-7 at halftime, bet the team that's losing to come back and win. And it happened. And it's just, I hate a response of like, oh, yeah, whatever. I hate that type of response, because it's like, bro, now that you're trying to send me this spiritual soul video saying gematria is real, he's like, yeah, this is you. You always talking about numbers and shit, laughing my ass off, dumb ass, but it's real though. I'm just like, what? You make me not want to be cool with you no more because of how you acting. Like, I don't even want to be associated with your level of thinking because you're trying to make it seem like I'm not aware of certain things ahead of time. And then you try to make it seem like I'm stupid or I'm crazy. And then 5, 10 months, a year, 2 years later, you're like, hey, bro, you know about this? And I'm like, yeah, I already told you about it. And they try to make it seem like they know about it first. And it's just like, oh, all right, I guess. But
Yeah.
that's really all I had to say about it. Just,
well, hey, I appreciate it. It's a
probably
great call. It's a great call, but there's a lot of people on hold, and I'm starting to run out of time here. So I do got to let some more people on, but I appreciate everything you said. So thank you very much, and your children are blessed to have you. Thank you.
all right, man.
All right, take care. All right. 330 used the feature to put their hand up. You're up 330.
Hey, Zach.
Yeah, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going, Zach?
Yeah, it's going all right. What's going on?
Yeah, hey, I just have a couple of questions, mainly about college basketball, really.
That's not really the topic, though.
So yeah, you know, these are kids that are my age, and I want to know how the hell this shit is rigged.
Okay.
Like how? Yeah.
Easily. Money. Easy. Let's go out to 657. What's up, 657? Uh-oh. Looks like the troll den called in. Let's go out to 917. What's up, 917?
Hello?
Yeah, what's up?
Hello?
Yeah.
Hi, could you hear me, Zach?
I can hear you.
Hi, Zach. How are you? How's everything?
Things are fine. Are you calling in about the topic?
Yes, absolutely. We met 2 years ago, September 2022, when I was there with my friend. Do you remember Ground Zero?
I do. Remember, I do. Remember, I had to get a little bit short with you because it was 20. It was not 21 questions. It was 21,000 questions. But what's up, man?
Yeah. I'm just here. A lot of questions, and I'm curious to learn. And thank you for opening up the door since 2019. I've been practicing a lot. I'm looking forward for you to come over to downtown Manhattan again. And I can show you my Gematria notebook. I have a lot of things, and a lot of things relate to, obviously, like what you've been doing for many years, the news. And when you open up the all ciphers, you get a connection between the two ciphers. Means like, let's say something says 5:47, and then the other one says 9:07. So 9:07 a.m. is 5:47 minute of the day. So two ciphers can connect with each other. Isn't that interesting?
It is, but this isn't the topic of this stream.
Well, I mean, I just want to call in. I don't have my notebook with me. I'll call back another time, but I want you to come over, and I'm looking forward for it this year. I called you last year, if you remember, so I want you to head over, and I can show you my notebook, and we could talk a little more if you have time.
All right. I do want to come back, so hopefully it happens. All right, man. Appreciate it. Keep up the good work.
You're more than welcome. More than welcome.
All right. Thank you, 917.
All right.
All right. You have a good night.
Bye.
All right. Let's go out to 971. What's up, 971?
Hey, Zach, can you hear me? This is Rusty.
Yeah, what's going on?
Hey, I'm new to the channel. I'm a big fan. I'm new to Gematria, but I've been studying all this, the same sort of history stuff, Jesuits and everything for a long time. I love everything you do. I think exactly like you. I have an idea. Have you ever thought about potentially reaching to people in a different way, a different media?
How do you mean?
I think it would be a really cool thing to do, to make a sort of movie. Like maybe, like not necessarily fiction, but let's say you make a movie, maybe it's a short movie, 30, 45 minutes, and people discover, let's say you start at like Kobe's death, you got the Super Bowl, you got a couple years of crazy stuff happening. Maybe you have a diverse group of people, like the show Friends. So maybe you have a couple guys, a couple girls who discover it upon, maybe like you did. So maybe our audience might be more susceptible to understanding that as opposed to, because the way they got through was, secret societies, not just, the truth. It seems like people aren't open to the truth.
Right. Yeah. They like entertainment. They like entertainment. So if you can pack the truth into something that's entertaining, you might be a lot more effective at.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I've been saying the same thing. I mean, turn this into a comedy skit somehow. I've been thinking about these things.
Exactly. I just wanted to, I'd love to be a part of it. So maybe if we could get a group together and work on a script. And I don't live in Portland anymore, but I'm from there. But I live in Texas now.
Okay. Yeah. A lot of people relocating to freer states. Yeah, I hear it.
I can't do the bums and the drugs anymore.
Sure. I get that too. Okay.
But I actually got to get going, but I'll be in touch somehow if I can.
All right. I like the idea. I mean, I'm on the same wavelength. It's just I got to figure out how to make it happen. So, I'm open to people collaborating and multiple minds bringing the right idea together. So yeah, I appreciate the thought. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, man.
All right, take care. Only one more on hold. 563. What's going on? 563. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you might have a family, and you might have a family member like that, and if they're driving you nuts, you just gotta keep your distance. When they're home, you go for a walk. Oh man. Yeah, I don't know if when I started this stream, if I said exactly the things the way I wanted to say them and present in the right way. But again, for all the younger people out there that have problems with their family, if I can help you out as someone who might be 20 some years older than you, again, it's better to not contribute to the family angst.
90 seconds.
We got the lady's voice. By fighting back and yelling back and screaming, and same in any relationship. Like I've always been really good about that, never fighting with my whoever I'm in a relationship. I had one girlfriend. I've talked about that. I've told this story in the past. Here, okay. The worst relationship I was in, I realized I needed to get out of about 3 months into it. And I nearly ended up spending 2 years in this relationship out of sympathy for them. And it was also because her parents came out and told me that they'd never seen her so stable and they really wanted me to stay with her because she'd never been doing better, which to me had my eyebrows up because I was like, this is good. This is good for her, huh? I mean, there were good things about her, but just like, here was the situation with this girl. She wasn't raised by her own parents. Her and her brother were adopted, and they were adopted by a wealthy couple that ended up divorcing themselves. So she didn't talk to her. What would that be? What is it when you have an adoptive father? I guess you still call him your father. Adoptive father, whatever. But here, and here's I'm going to tell you how this actually ended up, how the final straw for this relationship. I know I've told this story in the past. If you haven't heard this story, hear it again, or hear it for the first time. But I ended up staying in this relationship partly because of what her parents told me, and again, like I said, I always try to see the good things in people, but I realized she just had too much darkness in her, and there was like too much depression and self-doubt. And something that happened in her life before I knew her was she tried to steal some expensive piece of clothing from some store. This is years before I knew her, but so she had this felony on her record, and then it kept her from getting the job that she wanted to do, which was teach kindergarten. And I kept telling her to just like, okay, that's in your past, but if you like really focus and do the things, because that's what you want to do, I know you can still end up teaching kindergarten anyway. But anyhow, here's part of what I was guilty of. When the dad came out and begged me to stay in this relationship because they'd never seen their daughter doing so well, he said, listen, you stay in this family, we will take care of you. And I'd never seen people with wealth like this. And I've told you about this family. They're connected to the Detroit Pistons and the women's basketball team. They had all the championship rings in their house. And so that was also in my mind. I was like, well, if I stay in this relationship, there's a financial reward too. So here was the final straw for the relationship, though. This is how I finally got out of the relationship. I should have got, like I said, I should have got out of it 3 months into it. And it went almost 2 years before I got out. But this was the final straw. She had moved into my apartment in Seattle. It wasn't a big place. It had a living room, a little tiny hallway that went to a bathroom in the one room that was in there. And it was nice, but it was small. I can't remember the square foot. It probably wasn't more than 700 square feet, the apartment. And when she moved in, she brought her cat. So it's the one time I ever lived with a cat. And the cat she had was cool. The cat's name was Orion. It was like the most chill cat there ever was. It purred all the time. When you came home, it always greeted you at the door. It was almost like a dog, but it was a really nice cat. But while she was living there, she said she wanted to get another cat. And I said, let's hold off on another cat because this place is already small and, litter box with one cat's already enough. And so anyway, I thought we reached an understanding that we weren't going to get another cat. And I mean, I'd been very clear about it. And we were thinking about moving out into a bigger spot. And I said, when we move to another place, then it would be appropriate to get another cat. And so anyway, one day I come home and her cat Orion, instead of greeting at the door, purring like it always is, it's in the back corner. Like imagine opening the front door. Normally our couch is like right there and TV's over here. It's just back in the corner and it's hissing. And I'm just like, whoa, like I've never seen this. And I know she wasn't home. And then the next thing I noticed is the bedroom door was closed and there was something clawing at the door. And I was like, oh my God, she got another cat. And where is she right now? See, this is why she got the cat and dropped off the cat. And then she didn't want to be there when I got home. So this is some like passive aggressive. But so anyway, then when she comes home, she tells me that cat has fleas. And now she's worried her cat's going to get fleas. So I'm like, not only did you get a cat, you got a cat with fleas that you knew had fleas. So sure enough, her cat gets fleas. And then, I'm not, I like animals, but I never really had pets. So anyway, I was going to let her take care of the flea thing. And so anyway, she went out to the store and she bought like, I don't even know how many different flea treatments she bought. Let's just say it was 3 or 4. She put 3 or 4 different flea treatments on her cat, the one that she'd had, Orion, the cool cat that had been living with us. And I said to her, I don't know if are you sure you're supposed to do that many? She's like, it's going to be okay. I just want to make sure we get rid of the fleas. And so the night went on and her cat didn't look good. Like it looked like he was dying. And I said to her, I said, something doesn't look right with Orion. I think we got to take him to the vet. And she's like, stop it. You're worrying me. And I was like, something looks really wrong to me with Orion. He does not look like he's doing well. She's like, he's going to be fine. He just doesn't like, I was like, I think we need to take him to the vet. So anyway, I convinced her that we needed to go to the vet. And I to this day, I'll never forget the doctor's name. The doctor's name was Dr. Coffin. Dr. Coffin. Like you put a dead body in. And Dr. Coffin took the cat in the back room for a minute. He must have come out just minutes later and he goes, I'm sorry to say this, but my advice is to put the cat down. And she just went hysterical. And I was like, is there another option? He's like, it's not good. It is very, this cat's been very poisoned. And I was just like, oh my God. I was like, what are our other options right now? Because I know she doesn't want to put the cat down. He's like, well, we can keep it here. We can get it on, what's the baggy thing? Liquids. We can keep it under observation. We can clean it up. I was like, let's do that. Let's do that. I think it was a Friday night. I think it was a Thursday or a Friday night. And so anyway, the cat's there, and they're keeping it there at the vet, and they're nursing it up, and it's on the drip thing, and I don't know. It's probably like 4 days later, and they let us know that they ask us, do you want to continue to keep the cat here? It's still alive. It's not doing great, but we just want to let you know that right now, if it's here another night, the bill's gonna become this. Or maybe it'd been more days. Maybe it was going in the next week. I forget now because this is years ago. This is like 2008-ish, 2009-ish. But anyway, the bill was on the verge of hitting the $10,000 mark, and I was just blown away. I had no idea that the bill was going to be this much for the cat. I didn't realize that like cat bills were the same as human bills at the time for essentially being hospitalized. So I was like, oh my God. And I was like, well, that's really expensive for us. And I said, if we take it from there, what do we need to do to take care of it? He's like, well, you want to keep it on the IV drip, and you want to give it this shot. So anyway, I took the cat out of the place, paid the bill. And this is a lot of money for me at the time. I mean, I was on a teacher's salary. Anyway, I reached out to her dad and I said, listen, she got her cat sick and she racked up a huge bill. And I said, is it possible you can help out? Because I said I had to get it out of the vet because the bill was already almost $10,000. The bill was like really $8,500 at the time, but had we kept it there for another day or two, it was going to eclipse $10,000. And then I had to go buy the other stuff at the medical store that he said we needed to get. And then it was like taking care of that. So anyway, after all this, I was just like, okay, this relationship has been too much. And now the thing with the cat and just the idiocy of like nearly killing your cat and then racking up this crazy medical bill. So anyway, the way I look back at it is a part of me did stay with her because I wanted to see her do better. And her parents did tell me that they'd never seen her do so well. But then I can't lie that when they put the idea in my head that if I took care of her, I'd be well taken care of by this very wealthy family, that was the wrong motivation that was in my mind. And in the end, it took all this, and then I ended up like nearly out $10,000 on her cat. I ended up talking to her years later, and the cat was still alive. But so that was the only thing that made me feel good about that we gave the cat, more years to survive. But the cat didn't purr at all when we got it back from the hospital, and even when we broke up and she moved out and all that, the cat it had like lost its purr. But and that was sad because it was a cool cat. But in a way, there was sort of a karma lesson there that I ended up with a big financial bill at the end. And you know what else I ended up with? I ended up with like cat scratches on my face, not from the cat, but from her. When I broke up with her, she clawed my face. I remember I was playing in men's softball league at the time, and I remember the morning with showing up with the claw marks across my face. One guy's like, "Oh, what happened to you?" I was like, "You don't want to know." About $10,000 on a cat, and I look like I got clawed by a lion. So anyway, that was a major relationship too. Again, if you got bad signs early in a relationship, I mean, just don't even prolong it. It's time to move on. There's plenty of fish in the sea. So, yeah. Anyway, all right. I do got to wrap this thing up. We don't have anybody else on hold, so we can call it a show. Again, I plan to continue to do as many live streams as possible around this same time slot, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 Eastern. It might fluctuate day by day. There might be some days where we don't do one, but again, I got about 2 months until the little one's here, and then time will be limited for a while. I'm never going to stop doing the work, but the little one and changing sleep schedules and keeping up with everything, there'll probably be a little discrepancy in the output of work. So, for the people just fighting in the chat, like I said yesterday, I want to get rid of all the negativity crap in the chat. So if you guys want to continue to have accounts here and leave comments, again, I don't know why you need to feud with somebody in the chat. If you don't like what they said, I mean, just use the block feature and then move on. I don't know why some people feel the need to fight online over just like stupid stuff. Unnecessary fighting. Well, it's obviously a lot of people just like to fight in drama, right? I mean, save your energy for the fights that are necessary, like fighting tyranny, what we typically do on this channel. All right, I see a few people gave super chats. Thank you very much for that as well. Thank you very much, Dermot. I appreciate that. Very generous. That's 20 pounds, if I'm not mistaken. Ava Moon gave 10. Thank you again, Ava. Says, congratulations. And yes, be kind to mom. Mine is a royal pain, but she's been through a lot as a widow mom. Yeah, indeed. Indeed. John Mendoza, always with the generous dollars. Thank you again, John. And 13 Serpents, also very generous constantly. Wrote, family is important, but sometimes it's better to find other people in your life to fill that role and treat them like family. A father figure can be better than a biological father. Absolutely. Family doesn't necessarily have to be by blood. There's absolutely other forms of family you can create. So indeed, 13 Serpents. Yeah, 100%. And thank you again. So, all right. I'm trying to think if there's any closing words I should say here about family. Again, I guess that's the one other thing is like, don't beat yourself up about the mistakes you made in your past. I suppose if you realize you made mistakes in the past and you recognize that, then fix it going forward. And sometimes that's hard to do. I've been telling myself for 20 years that I don't want to fight with my mom anymore, and I've been doing a pretty good job for the last year, but I mean, it still took like nearly 20 years. And again, the thing that really helped me not want to fight with my mom, I don't know if I said that right. I never really wanted to fight with my mom. It's just, she likes to fight and she likes to provoke the fight. And then I end up just giving in. But again, just watching sweet lady go through the trials and tribulations of pregnancy just made me go, okay, that's why you got to be good to your mom no matter what, because it really is something else bringing a child into the world. So shout out to all the moms and ladies, and for all you guys having trouble finding a good one, maybe work on yourself. That might help you attract the right one. That could also be part of it. What was the guy who died a few years back? He did like something with Future, and the next thing you knew, he was dead by the numbers. Was his name Kevin Samuel? Was that him? He was so focused on like women that want high caliber men, but they're not high caliber women. I mean, you could turn right around and say the same thing about men complaining about how they're not attracting the right women in their life. Make yourself better. So again, women, historically, they want a man who's strong and stable and confident. And if you don't have those qualities, work at it until you do, because almost anyone can develop those qualities. And sure, maybe you'll never be 6'4". Most of us won't be, but you can still maximize your potential, and you can find yourself a nice lady out there. There are a lot of nice ladies. Of course, we do live in a society that's kind of trying to society is just trying to put bad values on a lot of people and keep people from reaching their potential and being their best self. But still, there's good people out there. So positive attitude, making yourself better each day, staying focused on the plan. And again, you got to be careful too, because there's a lot of selfish people out there that are manipulators, and all they want is the physical, and they're lying to get what they want. You gotta use your mind and your sixth sense to not fall for that whole game too. So anyhow, we'll leave it there for now, True Seeker. Again, thank you to everyone who contributed to the stream. Thank you again to 704 for the idea for the stream. I think it was a good idea. And we can probably do it again, because this is an endless topic, and probably finish the stream and think about 5 things I should have said. So, all right, guys, have a good rest of your day. And gals. That reminds me, I just got about referring to people as guys. I do remember I had one college professor that I only had her for a day. She looked like she was from Portland, even though she was down at Arizona State. She had the shaved head. And on her syllabus, she said, every time you refer to a group of people as guys, that will be a grade deduction. That was part of the syllabus. And I was like, okay, I see where she's coming from, but that is just over the top. And it's just such a common part of speech. Anyway, I just thought of it as I said, have a good day, guys. But have a good day, guys and gals. And thank you as well, Tiffany. Yes, that was nice of you. Thank you. I think you might have given me a super chat as I was signing off the other day too, Tiffany. Yes, you like to hit them as we get out of here. So thank you for that the other day as well. Appreciate it. All right, True Seeker. Till next time.